All right.
It's not 7:15 yet.
No. Do we have minutes from the last meeting?
Nothing typed out. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Give me another week.
That's all right, yeah, that's
Be
fine.
okay.
And then the next meeting, we'll just do them all.
Yeah.
And if, at the meeting, if you could just maybe print like 4 or 5 copies of the
Yeah.
agenda,
Okay.
just in case.
Yeah.
You know, for the next meeting.
Sure.
You know, what do I have?
If you want, I can share my screen and pull up the agenda that way.
I got it right here. I just, you. It's all, it's just one thing, Mike, anyway, it's just the, it's that, yeah, I think the Shang's coming too.
Oh, I see.
I have his report. I printed
Yeah.
out 2 copies of.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think he's, I was, I know the city was coming.
I actually have these that I got, as well. They're letters from LEC Environmental in response to the shooting.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure they acknowledged all his concerns.
Yeah, they did actually.
Yeah. So I think we're, Dan, I see Dan is on here. Hey, Peter,
Vote for a quorum.
they're on there. Peter, this is Emily,
Hi.
Peter Coffin.
Nice to meet you.
Very happy to see
Yes.
Emily. Emily is a very nice girl.
And you are our, what's your formal title?
Conservation agent.
Agent.
Yes.
Excellent, okay.
Like that.
And where did you live?
I am from Framingham, but my aunt is based in Millville, so I am very familiar.
Oh, that's good. So you're close by too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I didn't realize. I thought somebody had said you were in the western part of the state.
No.
Oh, okay, no, that's great. Peter, this was,
Peter, you can actually have this copy. I have put it on my.
Okay, great, thank
You
you.
can print it too, it's in there, it's like upper town hall.
This is-
Oh, to that.
that's the letter.
I just received that.
Most recent.
Yes.
This is from the Shan.
That one I saw recent, right?
Yeah, this is the one that Mike printed, then this one is the one that
More recent.
no, this is just
Interest, their
response,
response.
yes. Because Dan's on here. He is, I'm assuming it's the one spearheading this.
And DeShang will be on, I had talked,
He said, I think he said, I don't know if he's on here or he's coming.
I talked with them yesterday.
Yeah, he said he called me and said.
So I said Zoom was good enough, right? It's
Yeah, hopefully, we got 7:15, we got,
17, yeah.
it's what's on when they're supposed to be here, so let's see. what happens.
And what else is on the agenda?
That's
We
it.
don't have much, right?
So one other item for 5 Morrison Drive, and the applicant actually withdrew in anticipation of filing a notice of intent and more later, but in the
Okay.
near future.
Somebody educated them, or I shouldn't.
Yeah.
35 Cape Road, the request for certificate of compliance sign off. They're supposed to bring some photographs for that. So we'll see if they do attend.
That's a solar panel plant?
Yeah, I drove down in there. I mean, it's stabilized, it's much as I could see, because you can't go beyond the fence. But,
No, they had it pretty much under control 2 years ago. right?
Yeah.
You know,
they just probably want to get the paperwork done. I think they're gonna be getting ready to go online. Or they might even be on already. When they show up there.
So does this mean we have a quorum? We do.
Yes.
Is there any other business that we can attend while
The
we?
meeting, the minutes aren't done yet. Just,
Well, let me ask our our agents,
Yeah,
how many hours a week, or what's your schedule, or do you know yet?
so I'm, hold on to your seat. I'm
Yeah.
10 hours a week,
Hmm.
and I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm trying to do office hours from 12:30 to 5:30. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So it
And then,
applies 5 hours each day, and if it's 2-3 hours for the night meet.
now that's another thing. I was thinking about that today. On the nights there are meetings,
Hmm.
would you want to adjust your time so that you're maybe
I-
like here, or do you rather go home?
no, I actually stayed. I just stayed. I was here at 12:30. I just stayed.
Yeah, one block of time, but this could go until, we haven't been busy lately, but it could go until 9 o'clock, right?
Well, yeah, but
7 to 9, so you don't want to be here at 12 and waiting until 9, that's a 9-hour day. You're only gonna be able to, I don't know, go for 5 of that or something, I if you want 5 on.
Maybe not like that.
5 on.
Well, I was just
We're
thinking
flexible,
on the
right?
day that there's a meeting, maybe come in at 2
Yeah,
Right.
and stay till 7 as the office hours.
right.
Or whatever, 3 or whatever, however you would want to do it. And then you can use your couple hours,
Yeah,
of the meeting in there. I don't know, just think.
yeah, I think we're flexible, right? We want,
You do whatever you
want
want.
a presence for the public.
Yeah.
As much as possible, but,
well, that was my, kind of approach to it was that, the earlier I get in, the more of the actual operating hours I would be at town hall, able to respond to folks if need be. I honestly don't mind attending a meeting,
well, that should be part of the 10 hours, for sure, right? But that's only twice a month.
well,
It's not every
I'm
month.
I'm all set that she can, I mean, how long have you been doing this now? I mean, here for us,
2 weeks,
2 weeks?
yeah.
So another 2 weeks, she'll be here a month. She'll get a good feel of what
Yeah.
the flow is going to be and just adjust it so that
Yeah.
you're not giving more than what you get paid for.
Correct.
But who's your
And you are,
manager?
we'll try to-
Besides the chairman,
Yeah,
who's,
besides.
well, don't you, I don't know, submit your time card to somebody
Yes,
else?
I believe-
You know what it is? We could maybe try something where, if it works out, it becomes a problem. Maybe we can try to get it so you got to bump it to 15 hours or something like that, and we can try to make it.
We have to show the need, right? And then,
Right, well,
because
Exactly.
I'm not sure when the general public comes. I know contractors want to come probably first thing in the morning or in the afternoon or at lunch hour. General public might be
Well,
late
even if
afternoon,
it was
early
a matter-
evening. It's,
If it was a matter of answering the phone or if somebody had responded to or submitted an email, I could follow up with them in conversation. So
I mean, a lot of this,
but Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. And
Right.
then if anybody needs.
7 to 15.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, if the need is definitely there, got to document it so that we can approach the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee
Right,
with the details, okay, here's what's going on.
I haven't seen the most recent scope, but we've never really had an agent.
No,
And I would encourage an agent
oh,
to
absolutely.
visit the sites. A clerk, not as much.
Right.
But we
But,
already talked about that,
okay.
because she's gonna go take pictures and stuff, and if she's on a site, you can bring it back to the board,
So went to a site,
Yeah.
I went actually to 23 Cape with Dan.
Where you got to know the territory. You got to get out there and know the streets. Make us look good and efficient and have all the papers there.
What did you think about that?
There's definitely a significant amount of washout in the river area, the wetland.
Yeah.
But otherwise, from the silt fencing and the erosion control, seems as though the site is relatively stable, but there's definitely a lot of remediation, I think, is in order. But otherwise, I didn't know anything new.
And that's what I think that this is what they're trying to determine is how much what they need to do to correct the problem that was there.
We're talking about
Well, I
the Shang, no, because I talked specifically, the Shang was not to do that. And I was a little discouraged because that's what I thought we needed to do. I didn't really care about this new project coming in. I wanted to delineate the issue with the current owner. The Shang is just hired to handle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So somebody else is gonna have to, and you have to wait for the time, this is not the time of year to do it, right?
Well, I talked to him yesterday, I talked to DeShang yesterday,
Okay.
and he said that if down the road, if we decided we want to go in there, if you want him to go in there and just see what was
The extent of the,
damaged, but if it's already grown, he says, sometimes to go in there and dig something up that's already established again, sometimes causes more of a problem. He said,
Well,
so,
I went out to the site and I took photographs and you can see just a significant amount of sediment that has washed off.
well,
So
then
I don't
we've had
know.
almost 2 leaf falls, certainly 1 leaf fall, because it was this time last year with covered with snow that we went out first.
Right.
And the damage had already been done by that time, so.
And I don't know if do you guys have access to the, like, the, shared conservation folder? Cause I
the
dumped a
viewpoint
bunch
there, I think,
of-
no, we don't.
We've never made that happen.
Cause well, if you guys are interested, I did take a lot of photos and I dumped them in a file on that shared drive. So maybe I can try to like send you guys a link where you can download them and take a look for yourself.
Yeah.
But I definitely documented a lot of the areas of concern because it is quite significant.
Well, thanks for making us communicate.
Yeah.
I guess is Dan on,
15.
Dan Wells?
Yes, he is. The Shang is probably not unless it's KS.
Hi, Dan.
Yep, hi, I'm Dan Wells from LEC. Good evening.
So you're gonna be, here for,
I'm presenting the revised plan for 23 Cape Road.
yep, okay, so 7:15, we're gonna open the hearing for 23 Cape Road.
Before we get started, are we going, did people introduce themselves before I got on?
Oh, yeah, we need to do that.
No, we need to go around and introduce ourselves.
Oh.
Our new protocol.
I'll start. Carl Hummel.
Go ahead, Sue.
Susan Cahalan, junior member.
Mike Amandale, senior member.
Dave Tenio,
Peter Coffin.
And Emily Petro, the youth conservation agent.
hey. All right. Everybody, signed in?
Well,
Yay.
if they're going to speak, they'll need to sign.
So everybody should be signed in for the meeting.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Like an attendance sheet?
Yeah.
Okay.
their name, they should just write their name and address. Usually
There should be a form for that.
there is, but usually it's out on the, when they walk through the door, but I don't think it's.
There wasn't anything out there.
No, there wasn't, okay. Well, she'll pass one around for you.
This is a public hearing.
Get it, it'd be playing cards, right?
On a- What do you need? Just our name?
Yeah, name and address. Do you have the conservation restrictions for Southwood?
Not with. Is that on the agenda?
Yeah, it looks like it is here, right? Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, God.
Okay. Or is there a way to kind of, yeah.
Even that might be home.
We can zoom in some.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hey, I'm hearing and recognizing the voice. That,
Shane?
I'm sorry. I tried to get on the computer, but I use Zoom. And that haven't used the Microsoft Teams before, so the first time it's still trying to install it. So I thought maybe I call in, otherwise it will be late.
That's fine. Thank you. How you doing, Shane?
I'm good. Thank you, Damon. Thank you. So I know Peter's there, Mike is still there, so whoever.
We got a couple other members that are on Zoom also, but we're just calling the hearing to order. Opening the public hearing for 23 Cape Road. I don't know,
Okay.
Dan, do you want to go move forward?
Yes, sure. I will share my screen if you, are you all seeing the plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Again, I'm Dan Wells with LEC. And so first matter is we had been waiting for a DEP file number. We finally got it just 2 days ago. So it's 218-0819, and that was, I forwarded that to Sheng has that, and if the chairman, I believe I forwarded it to you.
Okay, yeah, we got it, yep.
Yep, okay, great. So Sheng and I went out and did a field inspection back in December. And so it took a little while because of the holidays of getting the surveyors to get out there. And you know, we wanted to have a plan that was pretty much ready to be finalized by the time we came back before you. So what I submitted is, this is just a summary of the flag changes. So just, you know, flag A5 wasn't there, and there's a handful. I'm happy to go through these, but essentially they're pretty minor changes. And so Desheng has had a chance to, the surveyor provided a copy of the plan with an overlay showing the original line and the changed line. So Desheng can comment on that, but he can say whether he agrees with all the changes. But essentially, I'll just do a quick zoom in. So there's, in this part of the A series, this flag was missing. That's now shown properly. The buffer zone reflects that. There was a flag, this 9R was added, so this was bumped out a few feet. So what the plan, that the stamp plan that was submitted was missing these two, A12 and 13. So this, I'll just show you, this is the record plan that was submitted. You can see just those two flags were missing. So Desheng pointed that out. The plan, so this, if you'd consider just accepting this because they're off-site and just noting that in the record, then we don't have to submit a new stamped plan. But that's the only change. Again, Desheng can comment on that, but that was the only kind of deficiency. Desheng had suggested maybe this line near A5 was not visible, but on closer examination, you can see that that line does connect these flags. So that was this part of the property. Over on here, there were a couple of, on this B series where a couple, like for example, B8 was connected right to 10, so there was a 9. So this line was bumped out. And again, between 11 and 14, the line was bumped out a few feet. So there's a couple instances like that. And then finally, I'll show you down here, these revised C34R and 35R. So again, that bumped the line out. Initially, it kind of went like that. So those were the changes to the BVW flags. So we made all those per Desheng's recommendation. The next part was regarding this brook, Mill Plain Brook, which is off-site to the west. And in Desheng's report, his opinion was that this should be considered a perennial stream and have riverfront. Our LEC did what's called a stream stats analysis, and I'll just show you quickly for if you're not familiar, but it's a software program that's the USGS runs, and this is based on the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. There's a process for if a stream is mapped as intermittent, which this is, there's a way to determine if it's perennial based on the watershed size and the predicted flow rate, flow duration. And so we ran that procedure and it showed that the stream, this is a map that I made showing these two dots. So even at this upper location, right at the property corner, it still had a watershed of less than a half square mile. So our interpretation of the regs is that based on that alone, this is not a perennial stream. Desheng had some evidence, and he can describe it if he'd like to, but essentially my client, the applicant for this project, decided to not push this, not fight it. They conceded that, as Desheng suggested, this is riverfront. It's a perennial stream. So the plan you can see here, it's reflected. There's a riverfront, 200-foot riverfront area is shown on this dashed line. So that was added for the entirety of Mill Plain Brook from north to south. So this is the 100-foot buffer from the stream, and this is the 200-foot riverfront area. So in good faith, my client has agreed to just consider the whole thing riverfront. So that's essentially, that's the presentation. That's the changes. We have a stamped plan. We have a DEP file number, and I'll pass it on to Desheng or the commission for any comments or questions.
Anybody want to, any comments or questions before Desheng talks?
Not yet.
All right, Desheng, go ahead. Oh, there you are.
We're not hearing you.
Yeah, okay.
Now we're hearing you.
Can hear me? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so finally I got the software installed, and okay. In general, what I agree with Dan just described. So I was there December 3rd, and we walk every frax of the line, and the major changes is that A series, A25 area. So because of there's some hydrology things, and then at the west around, I just make it simple to removed some fracs was kind of a little bit low. So the major thing we did discuss was the stream status. So as Dan described it, so it's not totally one way or the other, just by the simulation and the drainage area. So I mapped it and I examined the watershed very closely, and I found that the watershed is a little bit bigger than probably the stream stat software can do, which made it the area at the downstream property corner a little bit over half a square mile. And that's just the area. If you're looking at the Rivers Protection Act, river is defined by the flowing stream year round. So it means it's by the flowing water. It's not really by the drainage area. So the watershed or drainage area, it's a good, very important factor, but it's not the only factor. So whatever, if it's a perennial flow, and that should be considered as a river. So based on that definition, the software does generate a flow more than twice of the minimum required flow. So therefore, I discussed that with Stan because the DEP's regulation didn't really differentiate it. Say if you have the flow, but the areas are slightly smaller, what you do. So they didn't really provide a clear guidance. So based on my experience, and I look at the streams, river morphology, so they are getting to more than 10 feet wide and 30 inches deep, and it was flowing pretty good. So there's only two ways to deal with it. If we did get this flow more than twice or more than the minimum required flow, and in my opinion, if you get to provide a dry stream for at least 4 days during no drought period of time to demonstrate it's not intermittent stream. So in short, is the applicant did agree to protect the stream as a perennial stream or as a river. And I think I would compliment on that. So as cooperation rather than to fight against this. So it will drag it on for much longer. For, on the other hand, if they really want to make it that as intermittent stream. So overall, the site is pretty much disturbed overall, the upland area. So therefore, that's condition. I know some of the members called me, discuss it, which was not in my scope of work to review or making any recommendations. But so it will be up to the commission to discuss or what you want to do in the future permitting process. So I know the applicant at this point only filed for the abbreviated notice of intent for the resource area delineation. So in addition to the stream and the wetlands, I did comment on, and the applicant did checking into it as far as cold water fishery habitat, so which was not mapped. It's ACEC, so that's not, so habitat. So it's basically all applying the resources at this point is all checked. So, and I only get this revised plan yesterday, and I turned back to them quickly. It's very, very minor. I was just, and I asked for an overlay plan, so then I can double check the revised plan and the original plan, so which was sent to me today, and I did take a review of it. So it looks like a pretty accurate as I record in the field. So I didn't get time to write or put my final comments on, but in general, it's satisfactory as far as the resource delineation and the exploration on other categories of the resources. So yeah, I would be happy to answer any questions. So from this point.
Thank you. Pretty comfortable with that? Do you have any questions for Deshang?
No questions for Deshang, and I appreciate the applicant not arguing over a perennial stream. That's a biggie. And I have no problem with those two sites that weren't on the official map that are off the parcel, rather than going through another whole.
Make note of it on the.
Just make a note.
In comments,
Yes,
this is where the flags need to be changed.
exactly.
Any questions from the audience? And basically, there's really not much. This is just delineating and letting us know exactly where the buffer lines, the 25-foot, the 50-foot, the 100-foot, 200. From now they'll move forward with design plans, orders of conditions and stuff like that, this is basically just confirming where the wetlands are by two site engineers.
Just a comment. It sounds like from what you're saying that this project is already a completed thing. You're just waiting to tick off little boxes.
No, the process is that you have to agree where the wetland line is. That's the first step. So that's the only step that is being taken, that the applicant is.
This planning board has to deal with this, conservation has to deal, there's a lot of things going on here. This is gonna go, you guys are gonna spend a lot of time, we're gonna be knowing each other quite well.
The applicant will come again before the commission with a different filing, but as of right now, we're just discussing where the resource areas are, so everybody's in agreement. And, you know, down the line, we don't have any, there's no, we're all on the same page essentially as to what we're protecting, what the commission has jurisdiction over. So this is in the very preliminary stages of planning. And that it clears up.
Basically, now they know where they can design their proposed building. You know, now they know exactly where the wetlands are, so now they can do their, you know, designing of the plan to come forward in front of the planning board, come forward in front of the conservation. If they have to go to zoning for any reasons, I don't know.
Well, I understand, but as an immediate direct abutter to that, I can go out in my backyard and see all the little flags.
Okay.
So now is your opportunity to say, no, that flag should be 2 feet over this way. So that's the only thing that is the process.
Yeah, that's all we're doing here. And that's why we have the Shang who is working for the town to go out there and make sure that these people did the right thing.
Yeah.
And
And a fine job.
yeah, and next week, you know, it's just keeping everybody honest. And now when we move forward to the next step, then we'll all be here again and we'll talk about different things, the designing of the drainage design. And then, you know, then again, probably the Shang or whoever's gonna be doing that step, like in the planning board, Graves Engineering, they look over all that stuff. So they're gonna, it's not just us up here saying, rubber stamp, see you later, you're good to go. We have to make sure that we do our part and the engineers do their part. And if we deny something that can't be denied, shouldn't have been denied, and then they come back and sue the town, and then we could be in a problem. So we just have to do everything by the book. That's basically what the board is here to do.
There is another one before we get to you, because I would still have a question. And Deshang, you did ask the applicant to check to see if it was a cold water fisheries. And the response was, well, the nearest identified cold water fisheries is Muddy Brook, which is half a mile away. But in my understanding, if they're connected and there's not a impassable dam, if this stream eventually joins Muddy Brook, I think. And then there's a couple cold water fisheries downstream in Blackstone, not too far away. But I don't know how fish get around. But would you have any comment on that, Deshang or Dan, as to, because they're not all mapped. They would be mapped. All that means that a fish was found at that place in the past and that the conditions are right. It seems to me it would be it would be cold enough to support the habitat if they could get there. Do you have any comments, Deshang?
Yeah, Peter, I think that's a good, great comment. And so that's why I made a little effort to make sure we are protecting the stream as a perennial river. So if there's no dam or like in a waterfall and the water is flowing, if you remember, when we were dealing with the Misco Spring, that's what the Fish and Wildlife determined. Even though we are not in it, they consider that stream is likely will provide habitat. The fish could go up to a certain point. So that's probably I'm not saying, so it will have to provide an evidence since the stream is quite a distance from the project site. If this can be protected as a perennial river, so I don't think the cold fishery would require a little bit more stringent in the stormwater management design as water quality. So rather than as a normal side, a half an inch, they will have to design for a 1 inch water quality. I think we should keep that in mind, and as Peter's comments. So I would think the applicant can make a note in their design phase. Maybe that can be considered. So it's like a responsible developer would do. So if I would do it, I definitely would making sure I will design the stormwater to treat it for 1 inch for the water quality. So that will take care of it. Then we don't need to argue whether it is or it is not, to spend the time and energy on debating things rather than do something practically helpful to protect them. So, and meet that standards. So just like we just did for the stream status. So I think that's a cooperative way and a practical working rather than spending time to spin the wheels and argue opinions and don't get real things done. That's what I usually don't like to go that road. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Danny, you all said, I guess, got some, I got a,
Randy's got a question.
yeah, I got Randy's got a question here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randy.
Great, thanks. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Just state your name and your address or who you with.
Yep, Randy Renato, 8 Mill River Drive in Mendon.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody else is in the same boat as I am with this, but it would be great to have a little bit of clarification. I understand that what you're reviewing as your board is really the environmental impacts and making sure that everything is within the proper, kind of parameters and everything else. But kind of backing up to the big picture, and I'm totally in favor of identifying impacts to the environment to make sure that there aren't any negatives established up front. But at what point do we start talking about the impacts to the residents of Mendon? Because it seems like after the environmental results are passed, then they can start putting together the plans for the actual construction of the building. Before we get down that road, at what point can we start raising our hands and saying, how is this going to impact the residents? What are the identified impacts to the town of Mendon? How are they being rectified? The volume of traffic, and what's the benefit to residents, not to the town, but to the residents? Is there a benefit? So at what point do we start having those kinds of discussions? Thanks.
Typically, that's a question and for the planning board. This will come before the planning board. And we don't even, as a commission, understand the entire scope of what impacts there may be associated with this project. All we're discussing right now is where are the resource areas that we're interested in protecting. So questions about design, traffic, those are things that are going to be addressed most certainly at any planning board review. So
Randy, it'll also be, they have to come before us with a notice of intent.
yeah,
So
exactly.
they're going out now, doing their due diligence, saying, what are the parameters? Is this a perennial stream or not? Is this where the wetland is where I think it is? Do you agree or not? With that information, then they go back and figure out how big a building, they've probably already done it, but they might have to fine tune it. And then they will come back to both the planning board and the Concom with a plan showing exactly what they're building. And then at that time, there's all sorts of reports about the drainage, the traffic, the engineering. We're just going to look at the wetlands and the wildlife, but you can bring up impacts to the neighborhood, both at our hearings, planning board, the fire chief. It doesn't go to the ZBA probably, but they first have to present. Right now, we don't know what they're doing.
One
So
example of
the planning board meetings come after then the
It
conservation.
can go
board
either
meeting?
way. No, it can go either way. Whichever gets filed.
let me explain the process. Before the property owner or before the builder can come up with a building plan, they had to know where they could build. You heard earlier in the meeting that Deshang and Daniel Wells agreed that we are going to treat the stream as a 200-foot buffer instead of a intermittent 100-foot buffer. So now the builder knows that they have to move 100 extra feet, and that means they go back and fine tune their plan. After they come up with a plan where they take the drawing that we saw before and they put a building on top of it, that then goes to the planning board. And that's where you would be addressing issues like traffic, air pollution, noise, light pollution, things like that.
Landscaping, lighting, everything that, I mean, the planning board will, will dissect that plan. Our engineers, and again, it's not just the planning board itself, it's just, a bunch of people that aren't engineers. We have a town engineer that's gonna look at the stormwater, look at, parking spaces, traffic, all the stuff that, could impact the town. And then we'll go from there. I mean, again, if there's a site that is zoned for something and they come in to try to do something, and whether we like it or not, we still have to do the right thing as the town to make sure that we don't deny it just because we're being having a personal agenda. We have to do what we don't want to get. The town does not want to get into a situation like we did with the adult entertainment, where it would cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars because we just didn't want to have it. We denied it,
Okay.
And the order is usually the hardest one first, but usually it should be the Board of Health first, that they have a place to put their septic. Then it should go with the planning board, and then it usually comes to us last, but it can go
It's
different ways.
usually in the commission's best interest to get all of the planning board comments and review so that we have a better understanding of what the final is actually going to look like. And that way we can assess what are the impacts to the resource areas. So a lot of commissions in the area won't even issue an order of conditions until the planning board has given their approval. So this is a long process, but this will come before the commission again as a notice of intent, which is the formal application where they submit proposed site plans, what they actually want to do.
Okay, and maybe one last question for you. So then access to water, because it's in the section of town where I live, where we're all getting our water, not through wells. Is that touched upon in the planning board meetings too?
That's up to them to negotiate with the water supplier, and then the planning board would review the supply and the mains and the infrastructure. But that's.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be Hopedale. Dan, you probably can answer that question. They would deal with Hopedale on that, or would they deal with you?
So, yeah, ultimately, that will involve Mendon. They're gonna deal with Mendon. Mendon Water will deal with Hopedale Water.
Okay.
We have already been told in no uncertain terms, Hopedale will not permit any new potable domestic connections. Currently discussing a fire connection, but again, that's all something that they're gonna have to.
Right. So they might not end up with public water. They might end up having to do well water.
Okay, thanks.
Just take a name.
I'm sorry, Howe, 5 Joseph Road. Just to follow up with Randy's comment. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was a meeting with Mendon Water Commission and Hopedale and Blue Water, and Representative Mendon Water Commission, and I'm stating my opinion only, lobbied quite successfully to have the Hopedale Water Commissioners entertain a meeting with Blue Water for the purpose of a fire connection, even though 23 Cape Road is not on the contract.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, that's nothing.
And that's not.
That's not a conservation issue.
No, but that's an issue. You bring that to the selectmen, and I guess they appoint the water commission. They're not elected. No, it's not elected. As
That
elected?
is absolutely not a topic for
No,
discussion
okay.
here. I fully recognize that.
But it's the way
But
things.
I think that in the scope of things, just to provide some clarity to another individual and to, other people here. But anyway, not to debate that, but if I may, on another point and very brief about this, perhaps the town should consider in the future an actual process where an applicant proposing whatever they may knows that this is the order of steps that they have to go in. That doesn't seem to be the situation. They're going to do the environmental side first, but I think Peter, mostly you were saying, they could do this first or they could do that first and put it together. There isn't anything for people in the town or even an applicant to say, hey, if you come to Mendon and you want to build something, then you want to do this first, then this second, then this third, and actually have a process.
Most of the towns, I mean, the bill, anybody that's in that doing that type of work, they know that, I mean, they can come, they could go to planning board, they could go any way they want and put in an application, but they might have to do things 3 times. If things get changed in a design on planning board after they had already came to conservation.
Right.
So it just could mean that they could cost them more money if they want to do it the wrong way. But there is no, like, there's no steps, I don't think, in any town, really. It's more so, if you're a builder, you gotta make sure you can get a septic system on the property, make sure you can get a well on the property. Okay, if you can get those two, your next step is to, if there's wetlands, you gotta make sure that
Right.
you can fit everything there, and so you gotta kind of do it all.
I would agree. There's some general knowledge that's available, but just or even if there was something that was an overview of the process, because the public may not know that.
We really are not here to tell them how to build their stuff.
Of course.
If they come in front of us, we'll make sure that they're doing it the way that they're supposed to. If, all the plans and this is how they're gonna propose to build something, then we're gonna make sure that we're gonna do our job the best we can do.
If I take it out of just this, but where I really think with more professional staff, that a lot of towns would have like a once a month where the planning board and the conservation and DPW, they review the plans together and kind of, because they all have their inputs. So we're getting there, I think, hopefully. That's
On the side of public education, I'm trying and going to try, it's week 2 here, so give me some time. But implement more resources online. If anybody has any questions, please email me. I am so happy to share any information that I have in relation to this process. Because as a member of the general public, I understand that these are complex processes. You're considering so many different moving parts. So if by all means, my email is on our town website. I'm going to start trying to upload more resources to our town website because right now we don't really have any. So just on that note, I hope we can move in a direction of public outreach and education, because that ultimately, we don't want to keep anybody in the dark on any matter. So that's kind of my.
Yeah, no, I think there is a lot of education that's there because, the public doesn't know a lot of the nitty gritty of how, I guess how the various pieces come together, but that's great.
Sometimes we learn new things too.
Sure. Yeah, and just one last question. What about the wetlands that are to the north of the solar field, which would butt up against the back of the lots where that Gasco owns?
That's the one up on that top. Put that plan back up, Dan.
So I don't know, so if you were standing on, Route 140 and looking down on the site, it would be off to your left.
So are you talking about these wetlands up here?
So, yeah, I can't see.
So this is to the north, right?
So the solar field would be.
The solar field is to the south.
No, it's right in here.
It's just about that, the water that bleeds out of the bank, and you mean?
No,
Right here, it's
Yeah,
a
that's right.
existing delineated wetland. Here is the Cape Road, here's.
Yeah,
the-
right here. So fits here.
Okay, here's my house on here. Don't-
you won't,
Here's Edward Road.
Oh, no, it's back
you
here.
won't see it down here.
So
Yeah,
here.
but there's the
Edward
solar
Road is-
panel, right? Yeah.
Edward Road would be along here. This is the wetlands over here where it's saying existing wetlands. Those are the ones that we were discussing today.
Yeah.
But there's another designated wetland over on this side.
Well, we'll ask Dan to the Shank about it. They were on that whole site. And, I don't know.
Because that's closer, that's past the front Edward Road. It's up behind, closer to 140.
He's talking to the south there?
Yeah. Kinda, right?
I don't know, I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bank has been cut in severely there.
Yes, that's all. Dan, you got a response to that, Dan, of the Shank?
I'm trying to understand, am I showing the right area on this plan? Are we
Yeah,
talking?
I mean, basically, yep, I mean, basically, I don't know if you can you see this plan on here or no, on the screen?
Uh,
See where it says stone wall?
The
Yeah.
southern mountain.
Yeah, right, she's saying that there's a wetland there. I mean, I know that I can see there's wetland here. But,
yeah, the wetland, it loops around and then it offsite, that's the property line, so we didn't continue it, but essentially it follows, it generally goes down, the boundary is pretty distinct. And there's clear visibility in this area, so we certainly didn't see anything, any wetlands there. This is all solar panels just below here. So, yeah.
So what is the marking on the plans? You've got a little bit in here. Is that asphalt or something or stone?
So some stone riprap was put in here, I think. Is this kind of hatched area? These were some.
Erosion
features-
control, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I got a better handle on it. Can I just come up there?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they put the riprap because water bleeds out of the bank in there comes down from the soccer field, because there's no drainage.
So the soccer field would be like up in here. Yes. Somewhere up in here. And from the northwest corner of the soccer field, if you migrated down a little bit, it's this area right in here. Yeah, they're pretty clear. It's probably somewhere up in the records. It's this area.
So where-
Where's the solar array?
Yeah.
The soccer field's like right up and there. This is it.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
I'm down in Powell, I'm on Edward
And
Road.
this, so there's the solar
Hear about
array.
that, when I was at a meeting, when they were trying to put the solar panels in. So that, I took a picture of a map from here,
Yeah,
so you must have it around here somewhere.
okay. Thank you. You want to look into that, Dan?
Well, let me, maybe I'll put the
Cannot
ortho
see,
photo. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna suggest, if you could pull up, the orthos. See if we can't.
You have to go back, I think.
Where-
It was in.
I took
Solar field. I'm looking at the Google Earth.
some sort of a meeting here at that time.
are you seeing a ortho photo now?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, she's looking, she had taken a picture of a map that was presented at a hearing in 2018, probably by the soccer fields. So it's this hand-drawn, illustrated that shows down here where the solar panels are. there's like this triangle of, and I don't know how they have it defined.
Okay, well,
It's off your site though, but it's, your site kind of cuts right into it. Or cuts the bank.
Where's the solar field? So the solar field is,
Probably have that drawing, because somebody went ahead with it and see if we can actually get the paper.
And it
copy.
was-
The solar field goes entrance below the soccer field and then behind the soccer field.
And it wasn't the one they were putting in the soccer field, it was when they were putting in the solar.
Where they're
It's
putting
south- southwest.
So they got that probably, it's probably on the solar field site, which is off of their.
So this is all solar field now to Shang.
But it comes right up. Or it
Right, but they
appears
put
to
the solar, they put the solar panels right near it, so.
Well, it's kind of down into the left of it, but
It just comes right up in back of where I think, I don't know the name of the man that owns Gasco, but when all that site work was done, he's got that first lot on the left as you're going down this road, comes right up behind that.
Oh, it's up that high, huh?
Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. You know what, honestly, the easiest thing to do is you just go over, come down to where the soccer field ends, walk behind the fence. And then when you get to the far corner, which would be the northwest corner, turn and look due west, and you're looking right at what appears to be the wetland area, or at least as what's shown on that map.
or if you come down Edward Road and you park in front of 13 Edward Road and you walk out to the back, you'll see all the solar panels.
Road, that's to the south.
Edward Road's to the south, Shane. Did you do any walking over on the southern side of that
That's
property?
quite, Edward Road is
Yeah.
Road is quite a distance away from the property, looks.
Looks like it's almost 1,000 feet.
Let's get to be 100 feet away.
It's for about 500 feet away.
From the lot line of the solar panels?
If you do about a 400 foot locus from using 23 Cape Road, you'll start to, in about 500 feet, coming up to
Edward Road.
the back of the property on it. So
So from the property line, at least I think the state's GIS, and this is an estimate, but it looks like it would be 1,000 feet.
Excuse me, can I
Or
just
700 rather.
You got some for us?
I don't know, that's what I used, and I got about 400 feet.
But anything within our jurisdiction is
Right.
100
Is Edward Road?
or 200.
Is the buffer.
Well, the river would be 200, but that probably particular piece would probably be 100, right?
Yes.
If it's an
Yeah,
isolated,
and I'm not
it's
so
an isolated
much-
wetland.
It's not so much Edward Road, it's just that it appears to be coming up
Oh,
against the
excuse me.
back.
Existing
What-
delineated wetland.
What the
That's over on
applicant
this
may
side.
be looking.
What you were
to do,
discussing today is over on this side.
Or where it may be.
Well, we're discussing this whole piece.
Peter, do you have any insight that you could share with us
About this site? Well,
about this specifically?
yeah, well, she's looking at a plan where somebody had said that there's an existing delineated wetland both further south and up.
Closer to one.
So whether, when they cut that bank, I don't know what was on top of the bank before the panels were there.
There too?
It was all woods.
Well, yes, but you can have isolated wetland. You can have wetland and it's not protectable wetlands.
Yeah.
And, but I don't know, somebody went to great concern to put it on plan. And so that would be the plan probably for the electric panels. So whether we would have a copy of that or the planning board.
I mean,
Yeah, I'll look and see if I can get one out of the planning board.
Do you guys remember if the solar panels came forth or
They did, yes.
They did?
have something on?
See this.
We just,
But I'm not remembering anything on the side, but I don't remember this.
I mean,
I'm trying to explain to them where it is. Here's Edward Road down here, and here's the one where they were talking about the book earlier, evening, or the river or whatever. But there's also wetlands there.
But they're pointing to an arrow there. That might just be the tail end of that.
Like the drainage for the soccer field, or is it past that?
It's
There's a whole,
all-
there's a
no,
giant
it's-
detention basin.
Yeah, there is, right. That's right in the middle, Dan.
But that wouldn't have been put as an existing.
Well, to the commission and the chair, we're requesting confirmation on the 23 Cape Road property. If there turns out you have some evidence there's an off-site wetland, then that should be relevant in the notice of intent, if it casts a buffer zone onto the property. But for the purpose of this application, Deshang has done a thorough review. We're confident we've accurately identified the on-site resource areas. This is certainly a reasonable topic to bring up during a notice of intent. I'll certainly pass this information to my client, and we will do whatever due diligence we have to make sure it's addressed before any notice of intent is filed. But that's my preference would be to focus on the current application, and any offsite wetlands aren't relevant to that.
Yeah, so if it's possible, maybe Emily can see if we can find out the past filing documents to see how far away the neighbors commented wetlands is located. So then we can make notes. So if their delineation is within 100 feet, as Dan said, we should make a note that when they do their design, they need to consider that and what possible impact that all the constructions may cast onto that abutting wetlands. So that's definitely need to be noted. But unless they can prove that wetlands really coming from south, encroached onto the 23, that we need to take a look. But that's probably a little bit we cannot comment on unless we see that. So we probably need to find out where they're talking about. At this point, I just cannot see what the neighbors is talking about, and we don't have any clear plan that in scale and with a good reference to be identified to review on the screen at this point. If there's a really clear plan of record, we should take a look of it at least. So just to make sure it's not an issue. So or it's just an issue to be considered during the notice of intent process.
Mr. Chair, how about a motion such as this, that I would approve the ANRAD as submitted, but holding approval on the southern boundary that wasn't submitted as a wetland. There's still some questions. There might be wetlands, but the discussion that you had with Deshang, agree with all those delineations, and we'll try to find out more about the presence of anything along the southern edge. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We're issue an order of resource area delineation, or?
No, we're agreeing with the ANRAD. So what is the formal?
Yeah, just make a motion to it. That we agree with
So
that.
it would be.
The wetland, the delineation is correct on ours, so we want to make a motion for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
You go with that, Mike?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then we have a plan, we just closed out 35 Cape Road. So you should have something in the file, plan in the file. Because we had there was an order of conditions on that. So maybe you can try to pull that up and we can at least get that to Deshang and to Dan so that they can take a look at that. That sound good?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right, anybody else, good for now? We said we're gonna be here, there's gonna be a lot of time for you guys to state the case, and I mean, I feel for you guys. I understand you live there and you don't want to deal with it. We're gonna do what we gotta do to make.
But and now, well, here's the question, who gets, so a notice of intent will get submitted if they go forward. And then all the butters within how close will get formal.
300 feet.
Is it 300 feet? Unless my.
For different things, it's different. For the planning board, it's one, for the Concom, I don't know.
Maybe the planning board's 300.
So
And the
the
ZBA had something that is like different.
conservation written in the Wetlands Protection Act is 100 feet. But if, but Mendon has some sort of more stringent.
No, we don't.
bylaws,
No,
it's
I'm
supposed to
take
be
that.
100.
100 feet, then I think it's 300 in the 300 for planning or zoning.
And I would think this would kick it, but basically, keep your eyes and ears open, or it's not.
Just keep, on the town website. No, I don't know when they're gonna be coming in, but just keep an eye on it for it. Now,
And some of the butters will be notified, so then,
Yeah.
telephone.
yeah, you guys can let everybody know. And Emily's, she's here on Tuesday and Thursdays. So if you have any questions, you can shoot her an email. If it pops up 10 o'clock at night, she'll get back to you the next time she's in the office.
I don't think it's going to get approved in the middle of the winter with no eyes on it. You never know.
Now, this is gonna be a process and everybody's gonna be watching very closely.
We just all very anxious.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like I said, nothing's gonna get rubber stamped. I can promise you that. Thank you.
Any other items? on the agenda?
Agenda, any mail?
Nothing, I get,
We don't have any fan mail?
No, Not yet, now that I'm here.
oh, yeah, exactly. It'll all be going to her. So I guess she'll have the minutes for that.
Yeah.
We can get them done up and we'll get.
Get to it.
Next meeting,
Good question. Second, Thursday?
second Thursday. in
We tend to
February.
go second and fourth. I don't know if we made the meetings how far ahead of time. Because then we went from once a month, if it's not busy, why have a meeting?
Susan, did we put meetings into place last meeting? Well, I wasn't here.
Yeah, we put them in 2 times a month for 6 months just to get them on the calendar, but we can also cancel if we don't need it. But they're already on the calendar.
Do we need
Okay.
a meeting in 2 weeks?
I believe so, so we can issue the order of resource area delineation to our,
Like I said.
Well, wait, we just made the vote now, so why can't?
we'll have to finalize everything, get it all drawn up in the. So the way the process works is we vote to
Thank you very much.
the issuance.
Yeah.
And then at the next meeting, we need to formally issue it with the signatures and the correct information.
Okay, well, I don't know housekeeping, but like a notice of intent, we'll make the vote.
Yeah.
And then the clerk would write it up. And if we needed to, we'd come during the week if the signature needed, as opposed to having a meeting just to sign it. Doesn't, I don't know.
Well, we could,
Because with the vote, he can go ahead and do his work, right? I don't know. There's a formal document, I guess, but
Yes,
doesn't
there
get-
is a formal document that needs to be recorded with the registry of deeds, yes.
for the ANRAD.
Yeah, for the.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not giving him we're not giving him an order of conditions.
No,
just.
it's an order of resource area delineation. So
Right.
that is the accompanying document that says the commission acknowledges the resource area delineation. And that will get filed with the registry.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
right.
Yeah.
Basically, will be their supporting documents for the next phase of filing at NOI.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think Dan, you probably want to get the revised plan, get a new hard copy to Emily. So for record, for 2 hard copies, and you already emailed today, right? The
Yes.
plan you email me, you email Emily. So Emily, you should use putting in record today's plan, then send it to us. that's the final plan I reviewed. And
Yeah.
the hard copy he mailed to you was missing that flag.
Yes,
Right, 12, 13, 8. So that the new one should have it. So it's just to be as official, complete record. So we will be consistent.
yes.
Let me ask Peter's question slightly differently. Given that we made a vote just now, after Emily prepares the official document, can the members go into the office and sign it as convenient, or must we have another meeting at which we officially sign it?
No, I mean, you can come in and sign it as you need.
Okay, that's the way we usually do
I
things.
think you put an email out, Emily, when you got everything done.
Right.
We can stop at our convenience.
And normally we wouldn't have to, we'd do it at our next meeting, but if that's the only purpose for a meeting, I don't necessarily want to come out just to sign it, but that's.
I understand. We do have another item on our agenda upcoming, so I don't know when we're holding the next meeting, if we're gonna stick with that.
If I may, we have our meetings the second and fourth Thursday.
Yep,
I don't know about any other members, but I've been on board for over 30 years.
And tradition.
The second Thursday, fourth Thursday of every month for the last 30 years, I reserve patient.
okay,
If there's nothing going on, you cancel.
okay.
If there's something
Yeah.
going on, I have it, my agenda, that my commitment is.
Yeah, so if there's nothing on the,
I got no problem showing up, and if we don't have a quorum, we don't have a quorum.
but I mean, like I said, there's nothing to go on, if there's nothing on the agenda that we need to talk about. And there's no, we don't have to, no sense of doing it. If there's something there,
Yeah,
then we'll come.
have a request.
Sound good, to everybody?
Yep.
Michael?
Yeah, I don't mind coming out. It'll be a short meeting.
Okay, it's been a long ride.
Yeah, for this simple ORAD, you definitely can just go in and sign it. If it's a notice of intent, usually you have for a relatively large or complicated project, you may have very sophisticated conditions. That part, you need to really carefully review it by each member to make sure it's reflected all the input and comments until that the order of conditions clearly adequate reviewed by each member, then you can sign it. Otherwise, you sign something may not be reflecting the meetings, what you can recall, remember. That's usually my recommendation or my experience. So when you get into that kind of thing, you definitely want to read it over and then sign it. But this thing should be very simple. It's just checking, A or B, say, the resources as demarcated on what plan is accurate, so, and that things, Emily prepare it, you just can sign it. I would think it's appropriate for you to sign in that way. But if it's a next phase or really lengthy order of conditions, you probably need time to pass on and read it over and mark in your notes and then discuss at the public meeting, because you cannot just submit your comments normally, and you need to discuss that in a public meeting to make sure that the public is aware of what you putting in the condition and approved. So that's and that they still have a.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Duchesne.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Guys.
Yeah, thank you, Damon.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Emily.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in
Thank you,
favor?
Mike.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.